Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and now this is the second lecture of learning Python CBSE class 11. So let's start. So in this video we'll also be practically testing practically coding in the IDLE, that is the integrated development and learning environment. So let's start. So the simple thing that you have to do here is go and download the Python IDLE version 3.8 or above. It's good, and I'll just show how your screen will look. So basically, when you open the IDLE, what you see here is called the shell. The screen, the white screen, is basically the IDLE shell, and the numbers that you can see over here, the weird numbers 3.9.6, this is nothing but the version of Python that you're using. I would recommend that you use versions above 3.8. And this three angular bracket thing that you see here, this is called the command prompt. All right, now when you open the IDLE, the first screen that you see here is your interactive mode screen. And I'll tell you the difference between the two screens. So in Python there are two types of modes. One is the interactive mode and the other mode is the script mode. So right now we're in the interactive mode, and the difference between them, the major difference is that when you're in the interactive mode, you don't make any file, you don't save the file basically, and you just simply open and just write the code here, and it gets executed. I'll show you a very simple example. Say a is equal to 1, and we take another variable b is equal to 2, and I write a minus b, it'll give us -1, right? So it's very simple. I did not write print, or I did not do anything. I just initialized the variable, and I just wrote the arithmetic operation that is supposed to happen, and when I pressed enter, I just got the result. All right, but in the script mode, you have to write the complete Python code following like the syntax properly, right? And then you save it and then you run it, and you can even edit it later on. You can change your code, you can modify it as per your needs. So it is always recommended to work in the script mode, because you can of course change your code and you can save it and you can see it again. But in the interactive mode, once you close the shell, you'll not be able to see it again. So that's the main difference. So now let's open the the script mode. So all you have to do is go to file option and open a new file. Since I've already made one, I'll open a file now. So here I've opened the file that I had previously made and saved, and I just did a little bit of coding here, the basic part, and we'll do it all again. So your screen should look something like this after you've made a new file. And let's go here. So we've talked about the shell, your two modes, interactive and script mode. We've talked about command prompt. We've talked about the Python version. Coming to the extension of a Python file. So when you save this, when you will save this file, you will see that the extension that Python uses is .py. So .py extension is used for a Python file. Now let's try a very simple program in the IDLE. So for those who don't know the full form of IDLE, it's Integrated Development and Learning Environment. You can write it down. So let's try this example here. So a is equal to 10, b is equal to 7, and there's another variable d, I think, and we're storing a divided by b, and we're printing d here. Now you can simply save and run this module from here. So what you get here is a big value, that is 1.428 and so on. So in the previous lecture, in lecture 1, we talked about various arithmetic operations, various arithmetic operators, and we talked about division and floor division and the difference between them. So you can actually test it out now. When we just put the slash sign, the single division sign here, we get value. We get values even after the decimal point. So we get the complete value of the division, whatever happened. But when we use floor division, so you'll see what happens. So let's see, there's another variable called c, and we use floor division here, and we're printing c. Now let's run c. So you get 1 here. So you're not getting the digits after the decimal point. So that's the difference between division and floor division. All right. Now moving on to a very important program, and this is the program of reversing a number without using a loop. For those who have learned Java or any other programming language previously, they know that there are various loops that you use. Like for example, in Java we have the for loop, we have while loop, we have do while loop. So these are loops, and we learn about them a little later. And their loops are basically nothing but they just used to repeat something. Coming back to the topic, we were talking about the reversing number program, and we're doing it without the loops, so you got to pay attention, and this is very important. So let's say we have a number that is 123. We have initialized this ourselves, we have done this. Okay, now the first step is you take another variable, say a, and and what you're doing is you're using the modulus function here, n modulus 10. So modulus function, it gives us the remainder. So 123 when divided by 10, it gives us the remainder 3. Now I've written hash, the symbol hash, and 3 over here. So for those who don't know, hash symbol is used for commenting in Python. What does a comment mean? So a comment is basically, it is not a part of the actual program. When you run the program, whatever you've written in the comment section will not run. But this writing comments will help you. It is for your reference, and it's like you writing notes for yourself or for the examiner or for anyone who is reading or going through your program. It'll just help you understand better. When you come after when you come after a long time, when you're doing this program and you write some notes using the hash symbol, writing comments, various comments in your program, so it'll make it easy for you to just look back and go through it again. Yeah, so the first step we were talking about is using the modulus function and dividing the number by 10. So whatever remainder you get, so we're just writing, since we're doing this, so we have just written for the sake of it, for our convenience here. So hash 3, basically 3 is the remainder that we'll get here when we divide 123 by 10. The second step is that the number, the variable itself in which you stored the number, you write that variable itself. So it's n here. In variable n, I have stored the value 123, and I'll write n itself here, and I'll be doing floor division of n by 10. So n floor division 10 will give us 12, because when we divide 123 by 10 we get 12.3, and since it's floor division, it will be ignoring the values after the decimal point, so we get 12 here. Now I'll be telling you a very amazing fact here. The thing is, it's a trick. Basically you can say that since this is a 3-digit number, we'll be repeating these 2 steps 2 times. Okay, see, I've written it here as well. When it is a 3-digit number, you have to repeat these 2 steps 2 times. When it's a 5-digit number, you have to repeat it 4 times, or when it's a 6-digit number, you have to repeat it 5 times. It's like that. So we'll have to do the same thing the second time and here. So this is what we've done. We have manually coded this. Later on we'll be using loops for doing the same program. Now the last step that you have to do is take another variable, and whatever was your number here, whatever was the modulus of and 10, you just write that value here into 100 plus b variable here into 10 plus n, the number here, the last value that you get. And when you print the number, you'll actually see that you're getting the reverse of the original number, say 123. We can also try this out. So let's try this program. So I've written the program here, and now we'll be running it. So let's run this module, and we're getting 321 here. So you can see how we've reversed a number without actually using the loops. Okay, now coming back to this, now we'll be learning about a very important thing that we'll be using very often, like almost in every program that you do from now on. that is the input function. So input is a function in Python that reads value from the console. Basically, input function is nothing but it is a function that is used for asking values from the user. You're inputting values from others. You're not manually defining it or manually initializing it, but you're asking it. Then the values that are inputted using input function are basically in string data type by default, and you can of course change it. Let's take a very simple example here. You know, we could even convert this to you know, a user, like we can also convert this program, but never mind, let's start with a very simple program first. So I've commented that region using multi-line comments. Okay, so this is a very simple program. Let's type it out. A is equal to int. Why int? Because I want to input values in the integer data type and not the string data type. So I'm converting it here, manually converting it. Input, and say the message I want to display is enter number 1 and close the brackets. Then B is another number, int input, and say enter number 2, close the brackets. And now there's another variable C that will store their summation, and then print C. Let's run this. So now you can see, instead of actually just displaying the output, it's actually asking us for values. So let's write 34 and say 89. So we're getting 123 as a sum here. So this was a menu based program where we asked the user for values using the input function, and we also converted the values that we were getting into the integer data type, because we were actually wanting to display the values of their summation, like the summation of the numbers that we get. So this was a very simple program using the integer values. Now let's look at an example of Python's dynamic program, like how Python is dynamic. I'll simply be converting this int into float here. We've talked about data types in the previous lesson, so if you haven't right now, you just go and check out my channel where I've posted the lesson 1. So I've done float here. So float will give us the decimal values, right? Float will actually accept the decimal values. So let's run this. So it's asking for a number. I'm writing 12 and say 3. So we're getting 15.0. Okay. So this is how Python actually works. Even when I did not give any value in point, I did not write 12.0 or say 3.0, but I still got my answer as 15.0. The return type is float. So next is, okay, it's a simple program, but here what we have done is we are not converting this actual inputted value from string to any other data type. We're simply just using it as it is. So let's run this as well and see that when the values are in string, what happens. So it's asking us for a number 45, say 90. Now we're getting 4590. What is this? It's not even that sum. This happened because we did not convert the values to either say int or float. So what happened here is called string concatenation. It's basically the joining of two strings. तो यहाँ पर सिर्फ 45 और 90 को बस एक साथ जोड़ के लिखा गया यहाँ पे. Like you can see here, this is called string concatenation. Now another important program in today's lesson is the swapping of two number program. So normally what would you do? You would take one value, one integer, say a is equal to 10, and another integer value, that is b, is equal to 20. Now you make a third variable and you store the value of the first variable in that. So c is equal to a. So you can see we're storing a's value in c. So c is now 10. Then we're changing a's value. A's initial value was 10, but now we're changing it to b. A is equal to b, yani a is equal to 20. And now we're changing b's value to c. This is how we generally do it. But when you're doing it in Python, one advantage that you have is you just write a one line code and you're, you know, you gotta save, like, you got just saved so many lines of code. Like earlier, I still remember when I was in 10th grade, in Java we had to write, I mean, a whole huge program to, you know, the swapping number program. But in Python it's extremely easy. So let's just look at the way how it's done in Python. So I've already written the code here. Say we're assuming x value to be 5 and y's value to be 10, and now we're writing x comma y is equal to y comma x. That means x value should go in y and y's value should go in x. And now when we print this after the swapping is done, so let's see what we get. So originally, remember, we're printing x value first, so it should be 5 according to us, but now since we've changed it, so let's see, we get 10, right? See, we're getting 10. So it's, you can clearly see that it's swapped now. Easy, right? So this was the number swapping program. Now for the last program, before we finish the lecture, before we end it here, let's just learn about one more important function. Let's learn about the id function. So id function tells us the memory number. It's just like your address. Like there are say 3 people with the name xyz and they live in the same area. So how do I know that who's who? Say ABC are the 2 people that I'm looking for. No, say ABC are 3 people and I'm looking for A who lives in the locality xyz. So how do I find A? I'll of course have to ask A for their address, right? So it's same. ID function works exactly in the same manner. It tells us the memory number. So in the hard drive, in your whatever, how is it saved in your hard drive? So I print A is equal to 10 and I print ID of A. So let's see what do we get here. So I'm typing A is equal to 10 and print ID of A. So what do we get? We get 1 for something something something, a huge number. Though you see 10 is just a 2 digits, like a very small number, and we're still getting this huge value. So it depends from computer to computer, from hard drive to hard drive. It's different for every computer. Like for another computer it might be like 176 something, but like when I've done it right now, it's like even bigger. So it depends. All right, so this is a very important function, uh, and you know, you get to know where this is stored in your, like in your hard drive. So this is about the id function, and it was a short lecture today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.